We will call the Committee on Appointments to order at 8 a.m. Okay, there are a few items on our agenda this morning. First, a resolution confirming Mayor LeGrand's reappointment of Guillermo Cisneros to the Grand Rapids Land Bank Authority.
So moved.
Support.
Comments on this appointment, colleagues?
It's good to see him on there, I think. Good representation from the business community in the Hispanic part of the world, so thank you.
Okay. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. That brings us to our second resolution confirming the mayoral reappointment of David LeGrand to the Grand Rapids Land Bank Authority.
So moved.
Moved and supported. Comments on this, colleagues?
Nope.
Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Brings us to our third resolution approving the City Commission's reappointment of Molly Claren to the Grand Valley Regional Biosolids Authority.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Comments, colleagues? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Brings us to our fourth resolution approving the City Commission's reappointment of Wayne Jernberg to the Grand Valley Regional Biosolids Authority.
So moved.
Moved and supported. Comments on this appointment, colleagues?
May I just say thank you for serving? You're,
Thanks,
of
Wayne.
course, a great fit.
Yes, a lot of these are just like, all right, we appreciate you. Nothing fun. Okay, seeing no further comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Brings us to our fifth resolution approving the City Commission's reappointment of James Utz to the Grand Valley Regional Biosolids Authority.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Comments, colleagues? Thank you, Mr. Utz. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. And Mr. Clerk, if you could guide us through our vacancies. All right, we've been doing pretty good. We had a full meeting last time and a pretty good amount this time. There's still some individual city commission appointments that Ms. Bosker, who is in professional development right now in Kalamazoo, and the city clerk will also be going as well. We thank all of our city staff for continuing to improve upon their skills and build their resumes to continue to serve our community. I really appreciate it. I know we all do. So there's all of our, for the public, all of the current vacancies on our boards and commissions.
Yeah, we're doing really well.
Yeah, I feel like we have made significant progress. Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Yep.
Any further comments, colleagues? Seeing none, we will call the Committee on Appointments. We will adjourn the Committee of Appointments at 8:03 a.m. Have a great meeting. Good morning.
urban stormwater flooding. So, seeing,
Thank you.
thanks.
Any questions, colleagues? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2 is a resolution accepting a $4.3 million grant and authorizing the execution of an agreement with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation for the Michigan Talent Partnership Grant Program.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Ms. Renero, come on down.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the acceptance of the dollars. So this is a grant ask of the state at approximately $7 million. We are awarded 4.3, and this is the project in Monroe North that's going to address the conversion of Division and Ionia, the stairs, the Fairbank stairs, and then also mobility improvements between the hill and the river.
Thank you. This is, these are, I think we applied for this last year, and so this is how long these sorts of things take. But glad to see this on here. I know that it was very narrow and competitive, but glad that Grand Rapids was able to capture this award. Colleagues, any questions on this one? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you, Ms. Renero. Item number 3 is a resolution approving a grant agreement with the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service in the amount of $12,900,000 for the Grand River Revitalization Project for the Lower Reach. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Support.
Moved and supported. And is this Ms. Irving? And we've been talking about this for a minute, right? We just had some celebrations, and I was joking about the last grant being a minute, but this has been a while too, so thank you so much. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did I get a motion?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't remember. All right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is exciting. We've had this out there with NRCS for a while. They actually came through with more money than originally thought. We thought we'd come in at about 11 million, and they brought forward 12.9 million to support the project. We're going to hear about this again in CD as we add that into the project. And just another partner stepping forward to help us reimagine the river.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, question for Ms. Irving?
I don't know if it's a question so much as I just want to say thank you for everyone's work on this. This is a big endeavor over the last 18 years or more, and it was nice to be at the River Rock ceremony, I guess, for starting the project.
I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you. Item number 4 is a resolution approving a professional services agreement with the Greater Grand Rapids Chamber Foundation through Housing Next for housing practices lead services in an amount not to exceed $100,000.
So moved?
Support.
Moved and supported. Mr. Kane is approaching to discuss this item.
I've approached and now I am here. Miss Behrens is waylaid this morning, so I'm here to speak on this if you have any questions. This is an agreement that we've done for a number of years. This provides the city of Grand Rapids some additional support in getting towards its housing goals. I can answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. And this is not a new item. This is a reoccurring item. I can't remember how long.
Yeah, this is Housing Next, Ryan Kilpatrick.
Yep. Colleagues, questions on this item for Mr. Kane, who's arrived, apparently? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you.
I should have parked.
You know, it is 616 Day, so I guess you have jokes today, Mr. Kane, but thanks for bringing the humor. Item number 5 is a resolution approving a contract between Itera US and the City of Grand Rapids for managed services related to the Oracle ERP project for fiscal year 2027 in an amount not to exceed $200,000.
So moved?
Support.
Moved and supported, and I'm not seeing Ms. Pell, so I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Chapman.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, this is a resolution to approve a contract with Iteria. They are going to come in and help us with the list. The top 12 things are in the agenda item, just to really help us use Oracle to its fullest potential. So if there's any questions, I can try to answer them, or certainly get with our project manager or CFO and get back to you any answers that you would have.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Colleagues, questions on this item? It's really ensuring the kind of those final pieces, projects,
Yeah.
so making sure that impact occurs. Thank you.
Yeah, get some things running smoother and some better business practices in place using the system that we know is a great system.
Thank you. I think City Manager also talked to us a little bit about this item and some one-on-ones. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you. Item number 6 is a resolution authorizing execution of a contract with Seaforth PR for public relations services in an amount not to exceed $50,000.
So moved?
Support.
Moved and supported. Mr. Green?
Good morning, Commissioners. So this is basically, if you recall, during your budget deliberations, we allocated $50,000 to continue those services on the communications side of the enhanced communications for commissioners. And this contract just makes sure that we can do that through the end of the calendar year.
Thank you for confirming that. Colleagues, do you have any questions on this item? All right, I'll just say, I think we had some conversations around budget and, sort of what were the best uses. We know that the communications department is very busy with a lot of the efforts across the city. This was something new. Again, it's through the calendar year, and I look forward to, finding all the ways to optimize this relationship too. So I really appreciate Seaforth being open to those conversations as well, so.
And we do intend to come back to you in the fall with a recommendation on continuation or discussion then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just wanted to highlight that since that was a topic in our budget a couple times, so. Colleagues, any comments or questions on this item? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you, Mr. Green. Item number 7 is a resolution authorizing fiscal year 2027 insurance renewals with various providers for a total of $3,209,241. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Support.
Moved in support? Hello.
Hello,
And-
good morning, Commissioners and colleagues. Good morning, Commissioners and colleagues.
Good morning.
My name is Daniel Ade, and I'm the risk manager for the city. I've had the privilege of overseeing the risk management office since I started 4 months ago. The City of Grand Rapids uses a combination of insured approaches, including a high deductible self-insured retention, commercial insurance, and other insurances to manage the city's risks and exposures. The city sees cost savings through a self-insured approach when possible by avoiding heavy insurance premiums for traditional fully insured programs. Our approach to determination of self-insured versus a fully insured is built upon risk exposure and costs. Where risks are generally known and predictable, we will self-insure. However, where unknowns could occur, we will seek to transfer these risks to an insurance policy. The Risk Management Office oversees these policies, which are up for renewal. Our total cost of insurance renewals for these coverages is $3,209,241. Included in these premiums are property insurance through Chubb, terrorism policies through Lloyd's of London, special events insurances through Western World, excess workers' comp through Midwest Employers, liquor liability through USL for the city's golf course, governmental crime through Hanover Insurance, contractors pollution liability with Beasley, excess liability through MMRMA, and our workers' comp TPA through Comp One, and AJ Gallagher, which is our agent of record. Collectively, our sum of insurance renewals cost is about 2.5% less than last fiscal year, but we saw changes across most policies. Our special events insurance went from $3,925 to $6,810 as we continue to offer more coverage for city-sponsored events, which takes the liability off those who help organize these events. The largest increase we saw was our general liability excess carrier, which is MMRMA, the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority. This increase was an 8.3% increase, which is about $112,000. This increase is due to exposure changes, such as additional staff, additional vehicles, and the increase in liabilities. Although our total insured values for properties increased, meaning that we have more properties to insure, our property insurance overall decreased from last year, giving us a much better rate of 5.22 cents per $1,000 insured to 4.75 cents per $1,000 insured. Collectively, our insurance limits the financial risks to the city and allows us to continue to operate and best serve the city while transferring risks to where appropriate and reducing exposures. If you have any questions regarding these insurance renewals, I would be happy to answer them to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Questions, colleagues? Thank you for that overview. You know, it happens, and it's, you know, good to hear. I know the cost of insurance, and then certainly we're a large organization, so thanks for highlighting those. Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is a resolution authorizing a budget substitution of $170,005 for pedestrian hybrid beacons at Lion Street, and Fuller Avenue. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Welcome back.
Thank you. This project came before Commission in January for approval and award of contract. And now this is a budget substitution to follow up to fully fund the project. And this adds a pedestrian hybrid beacon crossing Fuller at Lion. There's an existing crosswalk. And this is just enhancing the safety at that location.
Thank you. Hearing and seeing no questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item number 10 is a resolution authorizing a budget substitution of $491,865 for HVAC air handling unit replacement at the West Side Complex.
So moved.
Do we skip?
Yeah, I would think, I would,
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's in my
Pardon
ward,
me.
Commissioner.
yeah, we can,
You know I can't skip number 9.
I would never
So-
skip
so
you.
sorry,
I
right.
would never skip you. I was born in the 3rd Ward,
That's
sir.
right.
Sorry. Number 9 is a resolution authorizing a budget substitution for $280,900 for MLK Jr. Street East Ramp Bridge replacement.
So moved.
support.
Moved and supported. Ms. Irving, okay.
Yes. So this is replacing the ramp that comes up to the bridge that goes over US 131 at MLK on the east side. Pretty complicated project, lots of piers that used to cross multiple rail lines, so a lot of improvements in that area. And this is a change to our budget of $280,000 for our Act 51 cost share with the department. So this is a $37 million project, and between the investment Vital Streets made to widen the sidewalks and this increased cost, the city's cost is about $1.3 million for this entire $37 million project. So it's a big investment by MDOT.
Thank you. Thank you for highlighting that. Yes,
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Irving, do you know the timeline for this? Are we on track for completion?
We are on track. It's a very big project. They made the decision to take the entire bridge down, given the complexity of the work and trying to limit it to one construction season.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to that. That's how I get from my parents to the north side, Commissioner, so I'll remember you every time I pass that exit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item number 10 is a resolution authorizing a budget substitution of $491,865 for an HVAC air handling unit replacement at the West Side Complex.
And so I will make the motion now.
Support.
Moved and supported. Thank you. Ms. Irving?
Certainly. This is a project, and it's essentially taking money from other projects where funds were remaining and using a budget substitution to fill out the funding to complete this investment.
Just a reminder to folks, that's our property, and there's a number of services that operate out of there, and most notably the West Michigan Works, our workforce development agency. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item number 11, and why many of you are here today, is an ordinance amending Section 1 of the Budget Ordinance 2025-11 for fiscal year 2026, Amendment Number 8.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Ms. Chapman?
Good morning again,
Good morning.
Commissioners. Large BA today. We do have 24 items. A lot of them, as you read, I'm sure are, fiscal year-end cleanup, making sure that we have budget to finalize, going through, salary expenses, overtime, things like that. I'm happy to try to take any questions if you have any on any specific items. Otherwise, there should be people in the audience from each department for any of the budget amendments that are out there.
Colleagues, questions on these items? Again, we know there are a number of them, but they're not new or different to us. And is there anyone that you'd like to highlight?
Not necessarily.
She's like, no, you want to highlight it, you can.
Yeah, and Molly did mention that our income tax compliance is coming up better than expected. So even after all of these, she does anticipate that the general fund is going to land pretty much where she had it when she projected it to you.
When we started that process.
Yeah,
Okay.
so income
Thank you.
taxes.
And thank you for filling in. Look at you. You got all the answers. Trisha's often filling in for different roles, so we appreciate you. It's nice to see you up here.
Thanks.
I'll also just note, even though it is not on fiscal, but it's in our packet for 7 p.m. today, that the mayor and city manager did put together a letter. Just really, and I know they'll talk about it, I don't want to take too much of their thunder away, but just really highlighting just where the city is, the growth, obviously the opportunities, but noting some of this particular investments as it relates to the budget this year. So also point people to that item, because I think that was, I think it was really a reflection of people have opinions about, I have a lot of opinions about things. We all have opinions about how we feel things are. And, but it is important for us as a city to make sure that we're putting out facts, especially as we get into the season of, I think, elections where there is a lot of news media pieces popping up or things, even, say the use of AI and things that are like, is this thing real or not? And we just don't know. So I really appreciate the mayor and city manager for putting that letter together. And then when we think about, yes, this is, some people might say, oh, you guys aren't, talking too much about it. Well, it's because we talked about it for, probably 4 meetings and talk about it all year long. So I will end with that and call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tricia. Item number 12 is the bid list resolution for June 16th, 2026. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. And typically, again, if there's ones that we would like to highlight out of there or anything, no notes.
Nothing necessarily.
Okay.
Just the 3 items.
Yep.
The pie management is, of course, for all of citywide.
Mm-hmm.
Who needs temp services. If you have other questions that
Yep.
communications and
Yep.
environmental services have people in the.
Great. Thank you. She's saying phone a friend. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next up is our comptroller's warrant report for the for the period, I was already getting ready for you, Ms. Desiree, for the period of May 19, 2026 through June 1st, 2026, in the amount of $39,767,091.70. And I'm going to turn it over to our Deputy Comptroller, Ms. Kirkland.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
And as shared, the warrant report for the time period, May 19th through June 1st, is the $39,767,000, which include $5,897,000 in payroll, $923,000 in income tax warrants. The number of income tax refunds was 3,419, and accounts payable checks issued was 1,057. And that's our report.
Thank you so much, and thank you
Thank you.
for being here. Nice to see you.
You too.
That report is received and filed. And last up, but certainly not least, our treasurer's report for the period of May 20th, 2026 through June 2nd, 2026. Mr. Treasurer?
Good morning, Commissioners. I guess in baseball, I'm considered the closer.
Sure. Let's do it.
So I get this done in 3 minutes or less, possibly. So with our report today, we do have $666 million invested over it, earning more than 3.33%, doing well in that. We've started to see rates are steady right now with the Fed. Right now, we expect that the new Fed Chair, Kevin Warsh, will be leaving or encouraging everyone to leave rates stable and steady. There isn't anything really tipping the market right now that's going to cause us any immediate concern. We are looking at the global economic picture, and hopefully we do have a peace treaty signed between the U.S. and Iran coming up here, and hopefully that will open the Straits of Hormuz. We are seeing the effects of that in the markets because our oil prices are coming down pretty steadily right now. I believe it's below $90 a barrel, probably approaching closer to $85, $84 a barrel, which is much lower than what we had seen, where it was pushing north of 100. That's obviously going to trickle into our economy, and we should see that at the gas pumps, and don't expect it right away. Typically, I always think of this, it takes 90 days for a ship to get out of the Straits of Hormuz to a processing center to be refined to affect our gas pumps. It's easier for our retail organizations to raise the price for us. That might not be a slower decline, but we should see that start to lower. Really, we still are going to be concerned about inflation. Our market, inflation is sticky, period. That's just a fact right now. So until we start having further economic data that would prove otherwise to where the Fed would want to adjust rates, it's still pictured in that we might not see a rate increase or decrease at all this entire rest of the year. But again, stable is good. It helps us plan better ourselves in terms of our investments and our bond issues and everything else that we do. But with that, that's pretty much the report for the day. You know, I'm looking forward to a nice little break, as I'm sure you are as well.
Yes, yep. Need a little break, and thank you for that report. And there's so much happening. Again, we know that what you're reporting on, all the things that are happening from a geopolitical standpoint, and what will happen as we go into, this midterm election is watching very closely. So thank you. All right, that report is also received and filed, and with that, we are adjourned at 8:52. Thank you.
morning, everyone. The time is now 15. We are going to get the Community Development Committee started. And before we begin, I'd like to say welcome to the Urban Leagues Youth Group. Welcome. Glad you're here today and that you'll be spending some time with us. So our first item on the agenda this morning is a resolution approving a fireworks discharge permit for Ace Pyro LLC for special effects at the Gillette Bridge in connection with the wedding of Dr. Rashmi Juneja on June 20, 2026.
So move. Support.
Moving to support it. Good morning.
Morning.
Anything to add? Pretty standard?
Yeah, it's like a 4th of July celebration, so it's going to be fully manned the whole time, and we will keep it as safe as possible.
Wonderful. Wedding, fireworks at a wedding. Beautiful. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 2 is a resolution approving a fireworks discharge permit for Image Engineering Special Effects, doing business as Image SFX for special effects at the Acrisure Amphitheater in connection with the Machine Gun Kelly Lost Americana Tour concert on June 17, 2026.
So move. Support.
Moved and supported. If there's any other discussion?
I'd just like to know what would the these effects actually be, please?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What would the fireworks effects be?
Oh, we have a whole list of them. We got a couple of handhelds, we got some gerbs, waterfalls, mines, and a flame unit.
So mostly it's going to be stuff on the stage, not.
Oh, yeah, no,
big bangs
these
or
are all
anything.
close proximity fireworks, so everything that you see at the Van Andel, they'll be using there. But because it's new and we don't know what direction the wind's going to blow, we're in attendance at the stage all the time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Proceed. No other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you both. Item number 3 is a resolution to schedule a public hearing on July 22nd, 2026 for the 111 Barnett Street Northeast, 830 Fort Street Northwest, and 838 Butterworth Avenue Southwest redevelopment project.
So move. Support.
Moved and supported. Ms. Raniero?
Good morning. Yes, thank you. This is a multi-site residential development where we had an existing house that was vacant and as well as adjacent vacant land. And there's going to be a new multifamily redevelopment of 20 different units. I would call attention to the unit mix because this is a pretty unique in that there's 4 bedrooms and 5 bedrooms. Which we don't often see. So I just want to call some attention to that. 5 of the 20 units will be set at 95% area median income for the period of the brownfield plan, which is 15 years. And the total construction costs are $5.5 million. Most of the eligible activities are under housing TIF, meaning the potential rent loss. And the only other thing I would call attention to is the aspirational subcontractor participation goals at almost 30%, or almost 1.5 million of the almost 5 million in construction costs. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And you mentioned the unit types. Did you say 4 or 5 bedrooms? I think in the memo it says 2 and 3 bedrooms. So just want to clarify that.
Sorry, there's 3 bedrooms and 5 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, so no 4, yes. But 5 bedrooms is kind of unique for us to see.
Wonderful. Any questions or discussion?
Just a quick
Commissioner
question,
Knight?
Ms. Raniero. 1, can you remind us of who the developer is on this project? And 2, is the 5-bedroom, are the 5 bedrooms any of the ones that are considered?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to, but I will check that.
Okay.
And then it's Ricky. I'm blanking on his last name, but newer face.
developer?
Yes.
Your microphone, Commissioner Knight.
Oh, it's on, it's just saying, kicking up.
You're set. You're set?
The question, if anyone did not hear it, was who the developer was and if any of the 5 bedrooms were the ones considered in the lower income bracket. And you said that is an emerging developer who is doing this project, and you would check and find out about the
Yes.
5. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you.
Thank you. Any
Chair?
other questions or discussion? Yes,
Yes.
Commissioner Belshak?
Thank you. So my question is this is a spread across 3 different separate parcels, and
Yes.
he's just doing them as one big project to get all the planning done at one time? How did that emerge?
It's a good question, and I was thinking that we need, it would be helpful to have a better aerial where you can see that, right? So I don't know the answer to that. I will double check it and get back to you.
Yeah, and I'm looking at, just the addresses don't make sense to me in terms of being contiguous, so these are probably separated. And the Barnett parcel has the house on it, whereas the other two are vacant. So, yeah, that would be helpful to know. And we are just setting the hearing today.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 4 is a resolution scheduling a public hearing for July 21st, 2026 to consider an amendment to the Brownfield Plan Amendment for the redevelopment project located at 701 Ann Street Northwest.
So move.
Support?
Moved and supported. Ms. Renero?
Yes, good morning. So this is actually the next two items in addition to this item are all connected to Profile Films. And Profile Films is this is actually a property in the city, but adjacent to the 425 agreement that we have with Walker. So it's only relevant in that it's adjacent. This is a project in the city of Grand Rapids. In 2023, there was an industrial building that was demolished. Those costs are not necessarily included in this ask, but this is an expansion for that entity to the tune of a 97,000 square foot new industrial facility that will house 55 new employees and cost approximately $53.7 million. The first public hearing is related to the Brownfield Plan, so we're making our way through the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and you can see majority of those eligible activities are not housing, right? This is related to site preparation activities. Again, calling some attention to the aspirational goals for our inclusion plan at over 20%, about $7.2 million of the $31.9 million in construction costs.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion from the dais? Saying none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 5 is a resolution scheduling a public hearing for July 22nd, 2026 to consider establishing an industrial development district for Profile Films at 701 Ann Street Northwest.
So
Motion.
move.
Support?
Moved and supported. We just heard about this. If there's no more questions, I'll call the question.
Aye.
All in favor?
Oops, sorry. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 6 is a resolution scheduling a public hearing to consider an application for an industrial facilities exemption certificate filed by Profile Films for a $26 million project located at 701 Ann Street Northwest.
So move.
Support?
Moved and supported. Same item. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 7 is a resolution awarding a contract with Ponstein Enterprises LLC, doing business as Georgetown Construction, for reconstruction of Millbank from Giddings to Newcastle in the amount of $683,597, with total amount not to exceed $931,915. There a motion?
So move.
Support?
Moved and supported. Good morning, Ms. Irving.
Good morning. This project includes water main replacement, reconstruction of the street, some repairs to culverts, and then reestablishment of a ditch for drainage. It is funded through the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, so we weren't able to use the micro LBE program, but Georgetown did come with 4% micro LBE participation.
Good to hear. See no questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 8 is a resolution awarding a contract with Steadfast Construction, Inc. for the WRF Water Resource Recovery Facility Cold Storage Building Improvements in the amount of $111,875, with total amount not to exceed $288,770. There a motion?
Moved.
Support?
Moved and supported. Good morning.
This is repair, replacement of roof, siding, some outdoor electrical. Cold storage, meaning it's not a heated building, just for clarification. And storage is at a premium at the WRF, so just rehabbing an existing building.
Thank you so much. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9 is a resolution awarding a contract with Freedom Construction and Consulting for improvements at Camelot Park in the amount of $1,056,572.84, with total amount not to exceed $1,428,840.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported.
At Camelot Park, they're going to be putting in a splash pad picnic area, restrooms, outdoor drinking fountains, so an exciting investment in the neighborhood. This is supported by the Michigan Department of Natural Resources through their Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Program, is a portion of the funding along with additional funding coming from the Parks Department.
Wonderful. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10 is a resolution approving an increase of $3,596,029 for Grand River Revitalization Lower Reach for a total not to exceed $29,578,130.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported.
So at fiscal this morning, we accepted $12.9 million for the NRCS grant. That $12.9 million is being added into this project. With that, Whitewater and the City of Grand Rapids are removing a portion of the dollars that they had put in to make sure the project was fully funded when we bid it, because we were still waiting for this grant. So we are still, we are removing about, sorry, look at me, I'm brain fading today, about $9 million to move towards supporting the upper reach. And so the net increase for the lower reach is the $3,596,000.
Yep. Good. Excited to see how you all braided together different sources of funding to make this happen and to spread it around. Any questions, colleagues? Commissioner
No,
Nutt?
just comment on yesterday we had the groundbreaking for the Leonard to Ann Trail, and it's really, standing there was really exciting to envision what the future is looking like with all these changes going on the river. So really excited about this work.
Yeah. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are on item number 11, a resolution approving an increase of $36,638 for East River Front Improvements, Phase 1, for a total not to exceed of $20,057,445.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Ms. Irving again.
So as a reminder, this project is the path behind the amphitheater along the river. It's adding about 4.5 acres of green space. And this $36,638 is from a revitalizing and placemaking grant from the MEDC. So these were additional funds that DGRI had from a separate project that they wanted to bring forward to support this project.
Wonderful. Seeing no questions or comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 12 is a resolution accepting utility easements at 2565 Irene Avenue Southeast and 2559 Linda Avenue Southeast in connection with Irene and Linda WM extension for a combined amount of $9,290.
So moved.
Support.
Just supported.
This is a water main extension, so working with the state of Michigan with their alternative water supply grant, addressing areas where there's concern about PFAS contamination and people who are still on wells. So this is an extension of the water main in Cascade Township.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 13 is a resolution approving a construction agreement and accepting a public utilities easement for Black Hawk Site Condominium Phase 3.
So moved.
Support.
Thank you.
So this is a development in Grand Rapids Charter Township and our standard public utility easement where we're extending water and sewer to serve these customers.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Yep. So we are set to conclude the Community Development Committee. I just want to point out for our guests that we went through this within, 15 minutes, but there was a ton of work, years of work behind some of these items, and several millions of dollars, as you might have heard, investing in these projects to invest in our waterfront, invest in our water system. So everything that you see happens in the city, new development, new amenities, park upgrades, comes through the city and takes a lot of work from a lot of people. So hoping that you glean that during this committee meeting as well as during COW. The Committee of the Whole will start at 9:45 today instead of 10 a.m. Any other announcements? All right, we're concluding. Thank you.
Going to call the meeting of the Committee of the Whole to order. Glad to see such a large group of people here from the Urban League. I understand you have 10-minute speeches, all of you prepared for us. So if you can make your way up to the mic. No, I'm just messing with you. So glad to see all of you here. Great. We're going to take our items out of order this morning and start with item number 2. That is a resolution recommending.
Just for transparency, for the people who did come here for number 1, we're waiting on one more community partner, and then we'll come back to that item for staff's request.
Right on. So item number 2 is a resolution recommending approval by the Michigan Liquor Control Commission of a social district permit application pursuant to Public Act 124 of 2020. Mr. Clerk, if you could detail.
So moved. Support.
Yeah, these are a couple of downtown establishments asking for a social district permit. I believe one of them is doing business as Buffalo Wild Wings. But they're both in the downtown district.
Got it. Any discussion? I will just point out, as I do occasionally, that I think we should just make the whole city a social district and call it a day. Otherwise, we're just stigmatizing people that don't have the sophistication to ask for permission for the area around their business. But other than that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next is a similar resolution recommending approval by the Liquor Control Commission of a social district pursuant to Act 124 of 2020 for Our Brewing Company, LLC, located at 738 Wealthy. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Seems self-explanatory. Any questions or comments, colleagues? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Fourth is a resolution approving an agreement with the City of Wyoming to accept and process wastewater sludge, and this is something that we've been working on for a while. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Thank you. If you could.
Good morning, Commissioners. James Oots, Environmental Services Manager. A year ago, I stood before you and requested a 6-month agreement with the option of a 6-month renewal. During that time frame, we've been working with the City of Wyoming on how we can improve this and make it more accurately reflect our system. Today, I bring before you a 3-year agreement with 5 optional 3-year renewals. A couple things that you might want to take note of in this is that we're switching from billing on a per gallon basis to a dry ton basis. This accurately reflects the loading of the biodigesters rather than a flow. You'll see that it goes retroactive to January 19th. That's when we installed a meter on our end so that we can accurately calculate the dry tons. Another thing that you'll want to take note of is that it includes a capital depreciation of one of the digesters, digester number 3, as well as the screens that will be needed to filter the sludge prior to digestion. This regional collaboration supports a greater relationship between us and the City of Wyoming. It supports environmentally friendly and responsible way to handle our biosolids, and it's a great improvement for both of us.
Great, thanks. Any questions or comments, colleagues? I do have one question. That is, you referenced biodigester number 3, and this is great because, more capacity is good, more biodigesting is good. As our city, as the region grows, do we have capacity really long-term to continue to grow the system? Like, can we add more
Yes.
tanks online?
So when the system was designed, it's actually designed to where we can add 3 more digesters. After we fully accept the Wyoming sludge, we can calculate what our true loading is, and we can actually accept up to 25% of an industrial waste and still qualify for our D3 RINs. That is something that, once it stabilizes, we'll calculate and see what we could potentially handle.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for working to develop the system. Okay, seeing no further questions, colleagues, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to a an amphitheater-related item. Next is our resolution authorizing payment to the Grand Rapids Community Foundation, an amount of $9,500,095,000 for the City of Grand Rapids Affordable Housing Fund. And Ms. Barron's coming up. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Barron's.
Happy to answer any questions. Not a lot to add here. This is a long-anticipated closing that finally occurred when the amphitheater was ready to be open to the public earlier this spring. And the commission had long talked about transferring a portion of those sale proceeds to the Affordable Housing Fund, and that is what this accomplishes. Just as a reminder, the structure of the purchase with the CAA includes both this $10 million at-closing payment and then payment over time annually that will be dedicated to some of the debt service that the city is anticipating at the Scribner facility. So there's a little bit of netting out here that leads to the not quite round number of $9.595 million to cover some of the carrying costs and due diligence and other preparatory work that the city did prior or to support this deal in earlier years.
Great. Thanks. Any questions or comments, colleagues? All right, quiet group this morning. This is great, so thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And that brings us to our next item, which is the ongoing discussion about Vicinity and Eesteem. So we have an authorization to execute a purchase agreement with Vicinity Energy in the amount of $50,000 annually for the purchase of electric-generated steam or Eesteem services. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Mr. Matthews.
Okay, we actually discussed this a little bit when we talked about the prioritized actions that you all had from the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan. The net total to cover all of our utilization came out to about $350,000 a year. One of the things that Vicinity articulated to us was that we can do a partial purchase. We felt that this was a way to get started in fulfilling the things that we'd prioritized. It's something that we can ramp up if we choose later. It's something that we can choose to phase out if we choose to do that later. I think it's worth noting that we're not alone in moving forward on this. Vicinity did let me know just last week that Greenleaf Trust was the first private side partner to sign on to the program, and they've got a number of other private businesses that are expressing interest in getting on board.
Right. And to state what's obvious to everyone on the dais, but not everyone in the audience maybe, this obviously aligns with our CAP objectives because it's a net greenhouse reduction. And the Eesteem is actually going to be, the electricity is going to be directly tied in with solar production of the electricity, correct?
Yes, so a couple of aspects for the folks that aren't as familiar as we might be. Most of the steam that's generated to help power and heat buildings here in mostly the downtown footprint is generated with gas. And it's generated with gas right down at the end of the street. So this is a way to not only have a net greenhouse gas reduction, but it's a way to do it that actually has local impact. Vicinity has a long-term purchase agreement with Consumers Energy to buy renewables to power that electric boiler, and the hope is to have that running full-time as they get more subscribers on board.
Great. And as you pointed out, that's gases as fossil fuels go, the best of the fossil fuels maybe, but it's still, we've still got point source specific pollution going into the air in our city from a big gas operation in our core city. So to the extent that we can move to electricity, we are getting rid of local pollution.
Correct.
All right. Thank you. Any questions or comments, colleagues? Great. Thank you so much. All in favor of the proposal, authorization, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Carries. Thank you. Okay, great. Okay, we're going to go backwards and take on item number 1, which is our proclamation commemorating Juneteenth.
up here, act like we family. We family first, y'all. We all one good village. Good to see you, girl. Come on. Don't act afraid.
So I'm going to read the proclamation on behalf of the city. But before I do, I want to point out that from my perspective as a human being and as an American, I like the 4th of July. And I love the dream of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. But I feel like America's real Independence Day, his most important Independence Day, is actually not July 4th for me. It's Juneteenth. And the reason for that is when you think about the damage and the harm that human beings can cause to other human beings, genocide has to be the worst thing I can think of. But the second worst thing I can think of, the United States of America started with it built into its DNA. And that was the ability to enslave other human beings. And getting rid of that stain or that wound or that sin or whatever word you want to use was from my perspective the most important thing that the United States has done in its history. And so a day that can celebrate us righting that wrong, recognizing the horror of what was at our country's inception, that it was okay for other human beings to be enslaved by a group of human beings. For me, celebrating getting rid of that stain is America's great triumph. So I am so happy that in recent years we've made a real celebration of it. We've made a real day of it for the whole country. And it's something that we can all celebrate together, because we should all be proud of being able to be a better moral community. That's what this is about. This is about our ability to be moral human beings together and recognize the dignity and the value and the absolute value of everybody without a little asterisk put on it. So I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas Juneteenth is a celebration of freedom, resilience, and the enduring spirit of those who persevered through generations of enslavement and injustice. And whereas on June 19, 1865, news of freedom reached the last remaining enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas, over 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation declared all enslaved people free on January 1, 1863, marking a pivotal moment in our nation's history and giving rise to the annual observance known as Juneteenth. And whereas Juneteenth serves as a time to honor the strength, determination, and contributions of Black Americans whose labor, leadership, culture, innovation, and advocacy have shaped our communities and our nation, and whereas the City of Grand Rapids recognizes the rich history and lasting impact of Black residents who have helped build, strengthen, and enrich our city through public service, entrepreneurship, education, the arts, faith communities, and civic engagement. And whereas Juneteenth invites us to celebrate not only freedom achieved, but also the power of community, the preservation of history, and the responsibility we share to create a future where every resident can thrive. And whereas by reflecting on our past and honoring those who came before us, we reaffirm our commitment to fostering a welcoming city where dignity, opportunity, and belonging are accessible to all. And whereas communities across Grand Rapids will gather to commemorate Juneteenth through education, cultural celebration, service, reflection, and strengthening the bonds that unite us as neighbors, now, therefore, I, David LeGrand, Mayor of the City of Grand Rapids, do proclaim June 19, 2026 as Juneteenth, and encourage all residents to recognize this occasion by celebrating the history, achievement, and contributions of Black Americans, and by continuing to build a community rooted in respect, opportunity, and shared prosperity for all.
Well, good morning, everyone, and to the commission. Mayor, thank you for your words. I
echo your sentiments in many ways. I think you said it beautifully, so I won't spend a lot of time saying it. What I will say is that Juneteenth is a special time. It's a special time across this nation. It's a space where we have the opportunity to reflect and also look at how far we've come, whereas there's still a lot to do. And we spend a lot of time talking about what there is to do. This is something important to commemorate, and I'm excited to do that today. Juneteenth, we know at a national level, it was Opal Lee, a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Mr. Manager, who was the mother of Juneteenth at the national level. But at the local level, there's somebody else who's fought diligently and worked in this community for a long time, not only to commemorate Juneteenth, but to make sure that we are connected to our history. And we affectionately know her as Mama Jewel Richardson, and she's with us today. So I want to invite her to share some words and thank her for her years of service in this community. Can you help me welcome her?
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here today, especially for such a great occasion that will enlighten the youth and everyone around the world that Juneteenth was not given to us, that our great ancestors took what was already ours, and we fought and we got Juneteenth. And we thank Miss Opal Lee, the grandmother who walked to get Biden. I gotta be respectful, right? What I gotta say, the last president, right? To get him to sign to make this a federal holiday. So I am so honored. I'm so honored to have 4 generations right here in the city of Grand Rapids who have worked diligently, and all of you who come out to celebrate, to learn, to be educated, to get to know, and to want to do better. Solidarity is what it's about, us coming together as a community in a heart of love. I want all of you to come out, represent your clan. Some of you here, I'm looking to the right and left, I know your grandparents. So you are representing your clan. When the teachers used to say to you, I know your family. I know your family. I want you to come out. I want you to walk. This ain't no protest. We get to celebrate. That means we get to stand boldly, stand up tall with our chest stuck out, talking about everything that we have contributed to this world. So Juneteenth, June 19th, right there at Hall and Eastern, 3rd Ward. You know the ward that they talk about, that they say is all at the bottom? You know the ward where don't no junk come from 3rd Ward. I'm a 3rd Ward, Southeast 49507, and many of us have contributed. My 92-year-old father contributed 70 plus years to help build Grand Rapids, Michigan. You all come out and represent your grandmother. They know your people's last name. In here in this city, we know each other by last names. So when we're talking about Juneteenth, we're talking about resilience, we're talking about culture, we're talking about leadership, future, uniting our money, and we definitely talking about this. This is yours. Own it. Keep it. Raise it up high right here in the city of Grand Rapids, where we have contributed, all of you have contributed for such a day as this, Freedom Day. Let's come together, not in protest, but in celebration. See you on the 19th, 49507 Hall and Eastern Avenue. Come and walk that parade in a show of pride. Go and celebrate with your families in each and every one of your own individual communities. You all have your wards that you're proud of. And I have mine, 3rd Ward, 49507. It don't make no junk. We all of that.
Y'all please join us for a photo. Go ahead over and take the front and center. Yeah, that you can take it. Yes, ma'am.
Come on. I think you can just stand here.
This is what's most important right here. The future. The future. The future. Not me. Great day. Not me. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Trying to do it.
There we go.
Closed session before briefings?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then if we all walk out, then we know we had it done.
Right.
Mayor. Mayor. While the chamber is settling, may I make a remark?
You bet. City Commissioner, point of privilege.
Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Davis, and all those who came, and Mama Jewel, for your words today. Thank you, Mayor, for acknowledging that this important moment of emancipation for everyone. And although it was late, it still had to happen. And I wanted to say, we acknowledge Opal Lee as the grandmother of Juneteenth, but I also had the privilege to work with Opal Lee earlier in my career, and she was a local leader back in Fort Worth. And also now coming full circle to do it again with Mama Jewel and her leadership. So I look forward to celebrating this weekend as we all continue to remember our past and look forward. Thank you.
Thanks. We are going to move now into two briefings, but before we do that, I got a request from City Attorney that we move into closed session to discuss pending litigation. And so I'd ask for a roll call vote on moving into closed session in Law Library, or where are we going to go? 601. 601, following.
Support.
Okay.
Commissioner Kilgore?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
Commissioner Sassi?
Yes.
Commissioner Purdue?
Yes.
Commissioner Belcheck?
Yes.
Mayor LaGrand?
Yes. Motion carries. That brings us to our first briefing. Mr. Canfield is going to be coming up. This is a discussion of our follow-up on our 2027 budget deliberations.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So we went through a long process to get to an adopted budget for FY27. So that's the excellent news. But there were a few open items left at the end of that process, so we are here to talk about a few of them today. And as a reminder, on May 19th, the day you did final deliberations on and adopted the budget, you approved two amendments to the original proposal. One of those was additional funding for the Disaster Relief Fund, and that brought it up to a total of $100,000 with the additional 50. And then the second was essentially a placeholder of $100,000 to continue some form of the commission enhanced communications and administrative support, and some of that was allocated to a contract this morning during the fiscal committee meeting to continue the communications support. So the items that were left open were a couple grant-funded positions. Funding continues for the remainder of this calendar year through December 31st. And then the future of commission-enhanced administrative support. The original recommendation was for you to consider adding an administrative aid, and then a potential mediation coordinator role, which could be contracted or staff, and we propose that that be taken up in September. This is just a brief summary of what we will get through today. I mentioned the topics, and our purpose is to review options, discuss their impacts and related considerations, and hear your feedback to inform our planning. So at the end of the budget adoption process, it was clear that you wanted to continue the enhanced communications support. As I mentioned, that was on the agenda for fiscal committee this morning, approved pending your final approval this evening. Services are listed here. It's a contract service and included things like coordination, outreach, and engagement support. So that brings us to the other piece of the enhanced commission support, the administrative piece. As I think you're aware, even before the start last spring of the pilot of enhanced administrative support, the services you see here that are not italicized were already provided by the executive office. So basic things like receiving and dealing with messages, upon request scheduling, travel training and related reimbursements, and supplies and IT coordination. And then with the pilot, depending on your individual preference, whether you wanted some or all of these, we added the italicized services, so some enhanced callback and email management, regular, depending on what cadence you preferred, regular planning consultations, some more advanced calendaring, and enhanced city hall services, greeting, setup, hospitality, printing, filing, et cetera. And as I mentioned, you did not all choose to utilize all of those, so I want to acknowledge that fact. So that brings us to 3 options that we would like to present to you today for your consideration. So one option would be to continue the administrative support pilot. The approximate annual cost of that is about $80,000. Because it is through a temporary staffing agency, there is some associated agency fee beyond the wage paid to an employee. So this would continue a temporary sort of ad hoc arrangement, maintain the current structure. It would maintain those italicized services from the previous slide to the extent you wish to utilize them. But there are some considerations. While it preserves both continuity and offers flexibility and lets you have discretion over what you might want to do further down the line, there are limitations we recognize associated with temporary staffing. Of course, when we don't commit to a permanent job for the person doing the work, that also affects the extent to which we can expect a long-term commitment from that person. There are some potential limitations on, related on consistency and responsiveness. So option 2 would establish a permanent position. What you see here is the full cost associated with an administrative aid. This is what we had suggested, but not actually put in terms of dollars in the preliminary fiscal plan. So to be clear, it is not in the current budget, and it was not in the preliminary plan. This would create a permanent executive office position. It would transition from a pilot to an ongoing service. And so in addition to sustaining all those, again, the italicized services from a couple slides back, there are benefits with longer-term service, things like institutional knowledge. We can expect more responsiveness and consistency, and proactivity. And I think there's an opportunity to refine and standardize some practices. So considerations here, in addition to the ongoing funding commitment, it does establish, instead of kind of ongoing extensions of a pilot program, it establishes a long-term set of expectations and aligns staffing structure with what we have experienced in terms of your operational expectations and support expectations. And then option 3, which is to be clear, the trajectory we're on, unless we hear differently from you, would be to phase out the pilot. As city manager mentioned during budget deliberations, that wouldn't happen immediately on July 1st. Again, going back to that $100,000, we could have kind of a tail on the pilot where we wind it down. So there'd be no enhanced administrative support. The non-italicized services that we provided before the pilot would continue. We would provide those with the pre-existing executive office staff pre-pilot. And this has the lowest fiscal impact, of course. It doesn't involve the either $80,000 a year or $100,000+ a year associated with options 1 and 2. But it would reduce the individualized support available to you and some reduction in both tasks and potentially responsiveness and coordination. So just kind of revisiting that earlier slide, the services with the strike through are the pilot services that would end with option 3. And with that, I will briefly turn the podium over to Mr. Davis, and he'll describe the Public Safety Trust Fund implications.
Thank you. Good morning again. So as we discussed during the budget cycle, the state is expected to allocate approximately $1.7 million to the city through the Public Safety Revenue Sharing Grants Program, what we've been referring to as the Public Safety Trust Fund. Now this funding has specific ways that we have to spend it. So 75% of the funds have to support law enforcement and 25% may be used for broader public safety purposes. So most of the discussion we've been having around this is around that 25%. So intended uses include approximately $200,000 for internal city projects that will support things we're already doing, like the Safe Task Force and OPA's violence prevention efforts. And then also we would look into whether or not it could be used for our community mediation efforts as well. And $200,000 has been set aside. Our goal is to use that for our external community grants program. So, we were scheduled to do planning and engagement for this at the beginning of July, and that's a big part of the reason we wanted to come back and have this conversation. And we had to revise the timeline essentially because the state has not provided us with the funds yet or an expected date for when we should receive the funds. So because we are not in a position to know exactly when we're going to get it, we thought it best to push the timeline back. We still intend to use a very similar process, essentially the same process that we planned before, but instead of starting in July, we will start in September. And this, of course, assumes that we have more information or the funds by that point. So in September, we'll do a program launch that'll include a web page that will explain this process, explain what the funding is and how it can be used. In addition to that, there'll be community engagement, including conversations with neighborhood organizations and neighborhood associations. In October, we'll make the grant application available, meaning community members will be able to submit applications throughout all of October. That staff group that's involved in the evaluation will do that evaluation at the beginning of November, and our goal will then be to bring those recommendations to the November 17th Public Safety Committee. At that time, the Public Safety Committee will be able to make a recommendation to this body. It would come back to this body on the consent agenda for final approval, and then we would notify recipients on or before December 1st of 2026. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Canfield.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. So future considerations will be the grant-funded positions I mentioned earlier, and Ms. Behrens will report back with more information on the neighborhood roads funding when that becomes available. We expect that these conversations will take place, or at least an interim update on them, at your FY26 annual performance report, which we present here at Committee of the Whole. I think we've scheduled that tentatively for September 22nd. So you will hear back from us by then. So that brings me back to the options, and we do hope that you will have some feedback for us today on the future of the enhanced commission administrative support. And again, the options that I presented were to continue the pilot, convert to a permanent position, or let the pilot end. Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioners, weigh in here. Commissioner Perdue.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Lou, and thank you for bringing this back to us with this time frame so that we can decide how we're moving forward. So I think that continuity of what to expect for us and for our community is really important. Of these three options, I am in favor of option 2 of making this a permanent position, of bringing it in-house. As Lou outline. I think it gives us more control, right, over how to scope out this position, how to support this position, how to make sure it's in line with the rest of our staff expectations and requirements, as well as I think it's a more fiscally responsible approach, given that we will forego all the fees and the things of using a temp agency. So I'd be excited to bring this position in-house permanently, and I think, you know, really what this means for us is having ongoing support that we can count on to free up our limited time to do the things where we can get the most, the maximum impact, right? So instead of spending an hour on calendaring or printing, we could spend that hour on preparing for a constituent meeting or something of the sort. So I see this as a way to maximize our work in our specific positions to get the most bang for our buck, if you will, to constituents. So I'm excited to support option 2.
Thank you. I will also add on to that, Commissioner. It seemed to me implicit in there, and Mr. Canfield, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would anticipate or look forward to perhaps a subcommittee of commissioners giving feedback periodically, and simply the ability, if someone's in-house, if someone's contracted, we sort of potentially get who a service gives us. Whereas if we've got somebody in-house, there may be more room for meaningful feedback and review from the commissioners. So that's.
Can I add on
Go
to
ahead.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I would like to see in terms of the process of the transition and hiring and onboarding is inclusion of commissioners in some part of the interview process, so that whether it's upfront, this is all of our expectations, this is what we're hoping for to help inform the job description, some view into the hiring process, some sort of meet the candidates, review their resumes and or sit in interviews, and then give input before that final decision is made.
And that's feedback I've heard from a number of you. So yeah, I think.
Mayor, let me respond to that. I want to certainly make sure that we get the right person should this become a permanent position. But be real clear, this is not an appointment of the city commission. They don't have 6 or 7 people that they report to. They report to one person. They are an employee of the city manager, and I will assign that person to an executive in my office for oversight. So we certainly will get feedback, but we don't want to structure this like you are interviewing to replace your 7th commissioner or appointing one of your 4 appointees. They are not an employee that's appointed by the city commission.
Thank you. Good point. Commissioner Belcheck, I thought I saw your hand.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. I really value this position. I found it to be incredibly useful. I think that the high-touch ability to reach out to constituents, to provide some different navigation for different constituent first response that we do. I agree about what you've said, Commissioner, about maximizing our work and freeing up our time and being fiscally responsible. I think that the idea of institutional knowledge that has been brought up is also important to keep in mind, and the learning process for the, being able to serve us so well. So I am 100% in support of option 2.
Thank you. Commissioner Knight.
Thank you for this presentation. I think earlier on we had conversations about possibly looking at how this opportunity could be better operationalized from some of the things that we saw at the beginning of this process. And I am inclined to stick with what I said from the very first time this was brought up. I, now being in the space for 4 years, have been able to utilize the services of what we already have internally and have been able to get everything that I need in that. I think we have to be very careful because it could become a personal assistant, and then that's not the purpose that this was actually created for. And so I'm going to stick with what I said with option 3. I believe that we have the skills and talents within our city body that can handle most of our needs as it opposed to, as it pertains to supplies and files and things like that. I think that position should be better utilized. And that those funds could be used in a different manner. So that's my choice.
Commissioner Sassi.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks, Lou, for the presentation. I know we've had multiple conversations about this, and I want to recognize that I was somebody as well, just did not see how it was impacting what I was doing. I had some concerns with, sort of fairness of the support, which I think a lot of the things that both you and city manager mentioned, having the ability to have that oversight, direct some of those things just in the way that we work with all of you right now as it relates to different projects. So I was definitely option 3 for a long time. I also had the opportunity to talk to some of my colleagues about how they valued the position, how we could, and your feedback about how, hear exactly what you just did, laying out the different options. And so I always recognize, I'm like, okay, I think there are more people than not who would like this support. And I would like to see this, the professionalization of the support, as you said. It's not about the individuals, but it is difference of like what is, if you're in a temporary role, like what are the realities that you have in a temporary role versus what we could offer in a more permanent, nothing is permanent. Many of us are at-will employees in the jobs that we do, right? But as permanent as can be, right? So while I was not supportive, I am now supportive of option number 2. I think if we could all provide, hearing what commissioners produce, supporting, how do we provide, sort of what are the expectations? I do have some concerns when I hear, reaching out to constituents, because I think that, to what you said, Commissioner Knight, we have our departments of 311, we have the other departments. I can think of a real back and forth we had that was like, it was engineering and it was other departments. And to me, there are the policy questions that sometimes constituents have of us, and then I would say a majority of the questions that we get via our city emails are going to be around a project that maybe an apartment is working on, waste removal services. I just had somebody write me about income tax. And so to me, those are best situated within the department who have the knowledge, understanding, expertise, and who might have another, more information to help present. So I would support too if we could make sure that we're working in the parameters of the positions that already exist. 1, to respect those roles and what they're offering already to the city, and 2, to optimize what that position brings. And so I think that is Mayor, you and I have talked about that. What is the continuation? What's the continued sort of feedback to you all who would be directing it to say, here's the expectations? But I want to make sure when we say, reaching out to constituents, it's not about things that other departments should be reaching out to, because I think that would not be the most appropriate use of the funds. Then that's what I would have the concern about. But I could support it if we said, hey, it's going to have the oversight of executive office, seasoned professionals who know how to manage. They can work inside the parameters of City Hall, understand what are the protocol and expectations. And so while, again, I was like, we could put the money somewhere else. I recognize that there's a majority of people who are saying, Melinda, I would really find value in this, and just trying to work to find like the best decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Your HR background showing through there, Commissioner. So thanks for good, balanced Yeah, thank you for that. That was thoughtful. Not that you weren't thoughtful. I just wanted to. So Commissioner Kilgore.
Yes, thank you. I concur with Commissioner Isasi and Commissioner Perdue. I continue to let constituents know I just had a cocktail and coffee hour at SIP in Alger, and continue to talk to our colleagues on the east side of the state. Detroit City Council members have 2 staffers. They are also full-time. So there's a lot of things that I really value about our Detroit colleagues, but I think it's imperative to continue to give our community the best service that we can, and that's why I'm also in favor of option 2. For me, for my office, my turnaround average is somewhere around 4 or less hours, which I'm very proud of. That in addition was also when I had gauze, I had to get some restructuring of TMI nasal things, I'll say, for those with weak stomachs like me. And I was not supposed to be looking down like that because it was healing up, but I still did. So I think of folks who may not be able to push through pain, right? If a commissioner has something, a true surgery that's very invasive, or even something as wonderful and a blessing like a child, of how can we ensure that these roles are for working people, for different kinds of folks in these roles. I'm going to continue to press for that, and to also just give grace as we are still humans in these roles. So that's why I'm supportive of this position, and although I have not utilized the position, I am always thinking more forward of who may need that support in this role, and who knows, my family may welcome a child throughout my tenure. Who knows? So there's things like that. So thanks, colleagues, and I'm supportive of option 2.
Thank you. And I'll weigh into the weight of opinion seems to be on option 2, and that seems to me to be the my preferred choice here too. So thanks. I think that's all the direction you need then, right?
Okay, yes, so we've heard your majority preference for option 2. So because this will require a budget amendment, we will bring that back to you in July. In the meantime, based on that $100,000, the temporary services can continue, and then there will be a process following that, which typically involves several months to actually select and onboard a permanent person. So thank you for the discussion today.
Thanks. Any discussion around the community safety? I'm sorry, was there someone else? Commissioner Belcheck.
Thank you. I just wanted, if I may, respond to just clarify that when I'm using the service, when I say reaching out to constituents, it's not for the departmental work, it's for the additional things that sometimes fall in the gray areas or sometimes you have a constituent who's more upset or more needs a little more conversation time and setting up an appointment or things like that. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thanks. So sorry, thank you, Lou. So anyone want to have discussion on the anticipated public safety funding? We don't have it yet, so it's odd to have a briefing on something that may or may not exist.
And the purpose today was just to reset expectations that we're not beginning the community engagement beginning in July, but we'll start in September.
Right.
And I know there were a lot of people in the public as well that was expecting that process to start, so we wanted to be transparent about where we were.
Yep, great. Commissioner.
I agree. It's unknown, so thank you for the update, Mr. Davis. What I would say, we do have a pretty robust list of either past SAFE winners or their community partners that we often bring together. If it hasn't been done already, so let me not be presumptuous, but if it hasn't, could we just send them that detail of the timeline, just so folks know?
Yes, we plan to share the information after today's briefing.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Commissioner Perdue.
Thank you for the update. A question for just clarity. So I'm looking at the slides discussing the intended uses internally. Could you just talk about how the external community grants program is related and different from the SAFE task force grants? Is this a new program? Is this an extension?
So this is a new program, and when we briefed it during the budget, I think the largest distinction was around amount. So the grant amount, and I'm going to say the number, but I don't have it in front of me, so I'll confirm if I'm incorrect. But I believe the number we said was $20,000 was the minimum grant amount on this. So it was to fill a gap that didn't exist already. So we had smaller grant amounts in other programs, including our Neighborhood Match Fund, also work that's done through the Safe Task Force. But this would allow organizations or individuals that are navigating spaces and violence prevention that require larger grant amounts to apply for this with additional parameters set in place.
So would you say that you see the process being more like community development and the CBDG grants, for example?
Commissioner, I can send you a copy of what we send the committee. We can send the commission a copy of what that process was exactly. But going based off of memory, the way it was laid out was very similar to our Neighborhood Match Fund.
Okay.
There is a process where community members will be able to apply during that, what I believe now was the October period. They'll be able to apply for the grant. There was a group of staff members involved in that space who would review those grant applications that included community development, the police department, the fire department, OPA.
Okay.
We would all be a part of that space to review those applications. And based off of that, we recognize the community members might come in with different amounts, right? Each project needs a different thing. We would evaluate what amount to give or if to award it based on the criteria that we set, which is first of all, having a connection to Grand Rapids, being work that is benefiting Grand Rapidians, and also falling within those dollar amounts. And not fitting better with one of our other grant programs. So we would evaluate all of those things. And we also will have to evaluate it based off the state criteria, whatever that looks like once we receive it.
Which we don't have yet.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think that ends our agenda, and we will recess into, no, we're going to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner? Oh, I'm sorry, Joel. Sorry. I got too excited about moving into into our legal discussions. So now our voting discussions. Our city clerk's coming up to brief us on 2026 elections. Is there going to be an election in 2026? I hadn't noticed.
Well, good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. Just want to take this opportunity to update you and the public on this 2026 election update. Before I get into the meat of this, I just want the community to be rest assured, and you rest assured, that I'm following what's going on nationally. There's a lot of stuff that's going on as far as executive orders and lawsuits and various other things. So a lot of things are unclear. This is really rare to have unclear stuff, 5 months before a general election for things happening. There's things happening with the Postal Service. So there's a lot of unknowns that we don't know about, but I'm following and monitoring it closely. I watch closely the California primaries. Nothing's changed in California how they've done their elections over the last 4 or 5 cycles. But when things are close, then we look at, so if the Associated Press declares a winner, then no one looks at the process for the days after the elections. So the process hasn't changed. They just had a close mayoral election in the city of Los Angeles, and it changed based on, and nothing changed. They just had to go through the process. So it wasn't like one candidate won and then it was taken away from them. We had to go through the process. AP could not, the Associated Press could not just declare a winner. And sometimes the media gets ahead of themselves by declaring winners, and we saw that happen in 2020. And but as we watch, all elections are national, and we're in a national news cycle. So we have to remember that Michigan has different rules than Arizona has rules, that are different than what happens in Illinois and various other states. So as we're watching these primaries go through the summer, as we get ready for the midterms of November, we all have different processes to get there. So we got to remember the process is the process. Just because things are close, we don't change our processes. So that was my kind of prefix before we get into this. Because we've been watching some of this stuff, and then how to respond to it. Just to give a little reminder of where we are right now in the state of Michigan. So Proposal 3 of 2018, to go back 8 years, it gave us a right to a secret ballot, straight party voting, no reason to absentee voting. That was a big change for that one. Automatic voter registration, same day registration, and then military overseas ballots, 45 days, and then election audits. And then in 2022, we had another proposal. We had Proposal 2. It gave you another constitutional fundamental right to vote. Early voting, that was the big one for 2022, was adding early voting. Photo ID or sign an affidavit. A single application for absentee ballots. That's been a big change that anybody can sign up to be on that permanent list, and we automatically mail you a ballot. The state pays for all the return postage for AV applications and ballots. We have drop boxes. We had those before as well. And then military overseas voters can return their ballots up to 6 days after the election if it's postmarked on time. So unlike California where they're doing any postmarked, ours are only for military or overseas ballots. And then it allows for private donations so we can get grants for doing elections, and we've used those before. There's some legislative changes as well that's helped us. We now have early tabulation of absentee ballots. Out of anything that's happened legislatively, that's the one that's helped us a lot. If you remember 2020, it took us a while because we couldn't start absentee ballots until election morning. And we didn't get done until 3 o'clock on Wednesday because we had 60,000 ballots to count. Now we can start 2 Mondays ahead. It lets us plan our work. Election inspectors aren't as tired as trying to work 48 hours or getting people in and then training them and do what we need to do. So this gives us time to start on the front end. California doesn't have that as well. So those are the things that are different. Just looking back to previous November elections, you can see how it has inverted from all the way back in November 2016. We had almost a good majority of voters voting in the precinct with small absentees. But with the changes of those proposals, you can see in November 2024, now we have more people that are casting a ballot before Election Day, or voting their ballot before Election Day than on actual Election Day. And this gives just a little bit more breakdown of that 2024 election. All right, looking at the August 4 primary election, this is probably the most kind of a ballot that can be a little bit confusing because Michigan does not have closed primaries. We have like a semi-open primary. So you have a Democratic column in column A, a Republican column B, and then column C is for any nonpartisan or proposals. So both parties are on the same ballot, you just can't cross over. So this is for the August primary ballot. So you can't vote for Republican governor and Democratic U.S. Senator. Once you start voting in one column, there is no crossover. So we get voters that spoil their ballots. If you make a mistake, you can get a new ballot. So that's the one good thing for voters to know, that if you make a mistake, you can get another ballot. And our tabulator, if you put it in yourself, will tell you if you made an error. So you cannot cross over. So you got to stay in your lane, either column A, column B, and if you're an independent, you want to vote in that third column, you can do that. You can skip the party sections altogether if you want to. Also, to add a little bit more complexity to this ballot, we also have city elections this year, but not all the wards have primaries. Only the first ward has a primary. So you have 3 candidates that are running. The top 2 will move on to November. And then I think we're also, as we're going through in November, that first ward commissioner winner may be up for an appointment if the commission wants to do that. That's up to you at that point. But that's kind of the process we're going with that vacancy in the first ward. So there will be no second ward, third ward, or city comptroller on this August ballot. So it might get a little bit interesting around that Garfield Park neighborhood area, because you're probably going to see a lot of signs in those first ward precincts, at precinct 3 and 4, which are in the first ward. But right across the street is the third ward. They're going to say, how come I don't have those candidates on my ballot? So that's part of it. And then if this isn't already confusing enough, Grand Rapids Public Schools has a sinking fund millage on the ballot in August as well, which means we'll have split precincts for those that have other school districts. So almost all the ballots in Grand Rapids will have a school issue. But for example, precinct 38 in the second ward, since part of that's Forest Hill Schools, they won't see anything in the third column So they'll just have the Democratic column, the Republican column, and that's it, because there's no second ward primary and there's no school millage. So clear. I try to make it as simple as it is, but it is a complex. August is a complex election, and then we have precinct delegates that are on the backside for each party as well. All right, so now that we know about August, just quickly over the November 3 general election ballot, this is where you can choose any candidate that you want. You can vote a straight party, you can split the ticket, you can do a mixed ticket, just vote your candidates. We'll have all the judicial, city, local educational boards, GRCC, Grand Rapids Public Schools, Kentwood Public Schools, all those school boards. There's 2 proposals so far that are going to be on the ballot. The first one is the Constitutional Convention. The Constitution of Michigan puts in there that says every 16 years they're going to ask the voters, do you want to go through this constitutional process again? This is the only proposal I know that Labor and Commerce are together on it. So Michigan Chamber of Commerce is heavily out against it, as is AFL-CIO, UAW. So this is one of those rare times where folks that are usually battling are working together. And the other one is the museum zoo millage for Kent County. There are some other proposals that are out in the field or have turned in petitions. We're just waiting to see what those will be. Early voting for August election, we're going to have 9 days of it, starting July 25th through August 2 at Ottawa Hills High School, GRPS University, St. Peter and Paul School. So same locations that we had in 2024 and the same time frames that we used. So that's that. And then November, we're going to add 4 more days. We found out starting early voting on a Saturday was difficult to do. For the first of all, we didn't have IT departments ready to go. So if we were having computer issues, also if we need office supplies running to all the staples, it was unanticipated how popular it was going to be on that first Saturday. So we're going to start on Tuesday, October 20, and we start at like 11 o'clock at 8 a.m., and that gives us time to get going, and then we'll go all the way through Sunday, November 1st. So we're adding 4 more days of early voting, and a 4th location, we're going to be at New Hope Baptist Church. So that's going to be a good partnership to work with that. Absentee voting, military and overseas voters, the 45 days is this Saturday, so we'll be monitoring. We'll get those absentee ballots out. We have absentee ballots available now. We're in the process of getting those ready for delivery, so staff is busy getting those prepared to be mailed. We have a permanent application list and a permanent ballot list based on what the voters want. Ballots can be returned in drop boxes by the mail at the clerk's office, or this is the best of both worlds. This is kind of like hybrid voting. We will mail you an absentee ballot. You can take time to research all the things. You want to know what a con is, or what a sinking fund millage, and you want to take some time. You have time to study the ballot, but you want to put it in the tabulator yourself, so you want to have that precinct experience as well. You can bring your absentee ballot and put it through the tabulator yourself. So it's kind of that nice hybrid method for that. Ballots are tabulated for ballots that get returned to us. Ballots are tabulated at the absentee voter counting board, and we got up to 8 days to tabulate now instead of trying to be tired and cram everything in one day. Election day is August 4 and November 3. Those are the days. So polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Anyone in line can still vote. All 59 precincts will be open. A couple of polling location updates. You approved at the last meeting a new polling location for Precinct 9 at New Vintage Place on the west side. So what used to be at Stocking School. That precinct was. And then Precinct 38, we had to make a change. We had to make an emergency change after you approved the list at the last one but it's already a polling location you approved. Yankee Clipper got flooded, their basement got flooded, so at your last meeting, you also approved a construction contract to fix that room. So just for this election, we are going to move Precinct 38 to Holy Trinity Orthodox Church, and then Precinct 51, which is normally at Ken O'Shea, that's still under construction. So for this year, for August and November, they'll be at Brookside Christian Reformed Church. Voters have all been mailed notices of the updates, and we'll have postings at those locations as well. So we want you to know before you go, there's some great resources out there to prepare yourself for elections. So you can go to GrandRapidsMI.gov/GR votes. You can look at current election information. You can apply to be an election inspector, learn about early and absentee voting. Ward precinct maps are there, and you can look at past election results. The Bureau of Elections website, michigan.gov/vote. You can check your voter information, apply for an absentee ballot, register to vote, find your polling location. The big one is you can view a sample ballot. A lot of times we see the voters' eyes go wide because they came in to vote for governor or president or whatever, or in 2018 they wanted to vote for weed. I mean, that's what people came in and asked for. And then they see all these other things and they're like, what's a drain commissioner? What's this or that? You know, these various other things. So, you know, get a sample ballot, know before you know. And then Kent County Election also has their website for KentCountyVotes.com, where you can look at campaign finance. So who's supporting the candidates? If you want to know who's supporting city ward or city commissioners, who's supporting the comptroller's candidates, you can go there and look at their campaign finance report. So that's another way you can do that. You can also go to the state website, a state website, to look at legislative candidates to see what their who they support. So to get ready for all this information, we have a contract with Well Design to help us do social media messaging. So this is kind of our calendar. If you kind of saw, we had some messages come out last week about registering and marking your calendar. So we've already had a couple of those messages go out by social media. And so this is our media posting schedule. And we've been preparing different things as well. This is like what one of those carousels looks like for absentee voting. So you would have a carousel for, these will be Facebook ads and Instagram ads. And this is like another one, but you can see the English and the Spanish version of that. And in the November elections, we actually buy Facebook and Instagram ads, and they do whatever those fancy algorithms they are to place the ads. They also do it for Spanish-speaking Facebook and Instagram things as well. And then we're also working on recording some short videos. So we shot a bunch of short videos out on the Calder up here of messages about upcoming elections. We're going to also shoot another series of short clip videos that we'll share later, and we'll do those at different locations, like today is early voting, today is election day, all those various things. Make sure you sign your envelope for your absentee ballot. So here's an example of one of those ads.
Hi, I'm City Clerk Joel Hondorp, and I want you to come help me on election day or in early voting or absentee voting counting board to serve your fellow Grand Rapids residents working in the elections. It's the easiest time to become an election inspector. Just go to grandrapidsmi.gov/GR votes. You can sign up online. It's easy. We'll train you, and it'll be a great way that you can serve your fellow Grand Rapidian.
So just a short video to, and there'll be other short videos like that of all these other things that we're going through. So that's it. Wow. They didn't do that, Lou, after your presentation. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't stand, nobody ever clapped for you.
That's right. Any question? Yeah.
Commissioner Sassi.
Thank you, City Clerk. I know a couple of people who were here last week for some training to be election workers, and I'm glad to see that, you know, making it so important, but also making it fun, and appreciate you. I think it's great to have these plans. Just a reminder to all of us, you know, Mr. Hondorf is often across the state and even the country seen as, you know, a go-to person to be able to provide insight to other municipalities around voting. And a reminder that the clerk's office doesn't just work on voting, but that's, you know, something that we're often most concerned about. I think my question is a broader question for all of us, and, you know, Mayor, as an attorney, and we have our city attorney up here. I think this election is going to present other challenges. You know, we can be very, very prepared, and we can say, what did we do in all these days? But I'm concerned about, you know, potentially litigation that may come forth to cities like ours and our state, because the state is really important in these midterm elections. So I'd love for us to continue that conversation about. I've talked to some other folks more in the nonprofit world, but in that funding world, about how to support municipalities around, you know, potential litigation that we might face, and all of those things that are a little bit out of our control, but how do we support, you know, the city and department in those efforts? So
Yep. So I had the odd experience of being in the state legislature on oversight committee after the 2020 election, and to have Rudy Giuliani come in and testify with a straight face in front of our committee that 700,000 fraudulent votes were cast in the city of Detroit, at which point I pointed out there were only 600,000 people living in Detroit, so unless pixies and fairies and gnomes were voting, that was a tough number to reconcile. And then he brought in people who I sort of felt like I was in the movie The Sixth Sense, where people were talking about seeing dead people. There were people who he brought in to testify about mysterious things going on in Detroit, and how they had seen people take the same ballots and cycle them through the machine again and again and again. So we're living in a world where you can get people to simply fabricate information, make up their own facts, assert things that clearly aren't true. And I think the most important thing that all of us can do, frankly, is be possible potential witnesses to this. So I think it's important, frankly, for all of us, and I would hope that all of us would take time on, particularly in the November election, which is likely going to be the flashpoint election, to simply be able to be in for this post-litigation and be like, well, I was at the polling location in the 3rd Ward, and Rudy Giuliani was not there, and this is what I saw. So I think that the ability to be a direct witness to what I am, beyond 100% confident we're going to have, which is a regular, carefully and legally administered election process. I think honestly, our greatest threat in litigation is going to be people making up their own facts. And so I know that our city clerk is on this, and I know you're going to do this the right way. But I think that having witnesses who are going to be able to convey that narrative, and I hope it won't be necessary, but I think that those of us who can be prepared to stand up and, to put it simply, defend democracy by being witnesses to a free and fair election. I think that's a real issue, and I say that because I lived through that testimony, and it was a strange experience. Rudy Giuliani, again, was asked if he had all this information, why didn't he ask for a paper recount? And his answer was, well, they would have just lied about it some other way. Well, you can't really respond to paranoid narrative and get rid of it entirely, because they'll just come up with another conspiracy theory narrative. But we can at least stand and be witnesses to actual non-hallucinogenic reality. The community elected everybody up in this all the commissioners up in this dais, and I would hope the community's got some faith in us to be truth tellers, and I think that that's going to be a really, really potentially important truth-telling moment. So, and I hope we can get other members of the community to do that work too. Not poll challengers, not poll watchers, but election validators, if you want to put it that way. All of a sudden, I think we may need that new role in our community. So, Commissioner Knight, you wanted to?
Yes, Mayor. Thank you, Joe, for that presentation. I think it's really important, to your point, Mayor, in this time, and especially for the young people here in the room, to understand how this democratic system works in voting for the people who are out doing the work and campaigning for your support. Personally, even just in this last week, we've witnessed people that have created stories and done things to disrupt that process. And so it's very interesting to sit back and watch that even up close. And we think about, the history of voting and how Black and brown people were always trying to be eliminated out of that by different tools that people use to keep their voice down and silence their voice. And I think it's really good that our young people are able to hear about this process, but also to understand how important it is for you to be engaged in this work. It's not a sit back and just watch it happen. This, when you stand up and you utilize your voice and you cast your vote, it is important to understand that this impacts your future. It impacts your future. It impacts your future children's future, your friends, your family and everybody around you. And so the democratic process is necessary to continue to move forward. And I hope that we as a body can continue to do that work with honesty and with integrity, and understanding that we live in a time where every one of those rights are trying to be stripped away from us again. But we as a people have shown that we are always a first, and we are the ones that will stand up no matter what the situation is and continue to fight for the things that we are due when we talk about the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as it pertains to each and every person. Everybody deserves that equal right. And I continue to hope that our young people understand that this is a process for them to be engaged with and continue to bring them into that space. So thank you.
Commissioner Perdue and then Commissioner Belcher.
Thank you. Thank you for the update. I want to go back to something that you said at the beginning. You talked about national uncertainty.
Okay.
And you mentioned post office decisions, and you mentioned the timing of when elections can be called after all the votes are counted. Are there any other national trends or conversations that you're following that we should know about?
Those are kind of the big ones.
Okay.
But I'm monitoring like so I get I read a daily thing of stories that are going on around the country, because like what lawsuits, like did one city have like 5-hour lines at an early voting place, and what was the issue for that? Could be they only had one thing for a whole, could you imagine if you only had one early voting site for all of Kent County?
Right.
Like there would be issues and things with that. So what's happening? What decisions are counties or local governments or states making that makes things harder or easier, and are they related? Are they unrelated? I'm just monitoring. And then I'm part of a group called Partnership for Large Election Jurisdictions. Dean Logan, who's the registrar in LA County. So it's been interesting because this is somebody that I know personally, and I've toured their facility, so I know what's going on there. So that gives credence when someone asks me like what's going on there. I can actually like tell them, because as the mayor said, I witnessed it. I witnessed what their stuff looks like, and I know their process because I was there. Not during the election time, but at other times. And I think it's going to be that kind of thing too. Is just these are people that I can lean on too. Like, I heard this. Is this true or not? And I can relay it back if it gets to that point.
Okay, thank you. And then secondly, let's go back to talk about Election Day and polling locations. So you mentioned some of the changes due to construction, and that those voters will be contacted by mail.
Yep.
I'm curious, will their voter registration card change, or is this just
only the one for New Vintage Place? Okay, so because that was an actual change in the polling.
But the construction.
The other construction ones, they got a postcard that says you have a temporary location. However, we change it in the qualified voter file for this election. There's a space inside the qualified voter file called election geography, where we're telling voters about this election. So if you go to michigan.gov/vote and look up yourself, it'll tell you to go to these new places.
Okay, good.
So it's not a permanent geography, it's a temporary geography.
And then will there be signs at locations on the day of, just in case folks didn't?
Yeah, so that's part of that says if you move a location due to an emergency or whatever, you post at the other place of where to go.
Okay. One thing that I'm thinking about is, if you've been voting for a number of years, you're typically in a routine, right? You're not relooking at your polling location. You've been doing this at least 1 or 2 times a year for 10 plus years. And so particularly for those folks who are impacted by precinct changes, and particularly some of the closing and consolidation that was done last year, I'm wondering how information around that might be shared. And particularly as you talked about the social media campaign, might there be a chance to add some of the promotion and information around, hey, for some people, X number of people, your polling location has changed. So though you might not have looked at this because you've been voting at the same place for the last 20 years, look at it this year because it might have changed.
Yeah, so the first thing we did, and we said this last year when we did, everybody got a new card, but obviously that was a year and a half ago now.
Yeah.
And so that's a good point that's why I do this know before you go type thing is, so there'll be stuff, I'll be pushing heavily on michigan.gov/vote.
Okay. I do think it's important to explicitly say or have had changes.
Yep.
So make sure you check, so you don't have any challenges on election day or even before.
That's a good idea, and we're shooting some more videos, so I will take that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Mayor, before, just,
go ahead.
Commissioners, I want to remind you, we have a 12:30 Public Safety Committee meeting, and we are trying not to adjust it, given we've moved the topic a couple times, and I think the city attorney has 5 items for closed session.
Okay. I only have a couple comments, and I just want to concur that I think that looking at this, this well-designed social media posting, these are the, typical things, and I think that Commissioner Perdue is got some really valid points here, and it would be very easy to have them add some more social media to say, hey, check your polling locations, not just the know before you go, but some warning kind of cute things, and as well as your videos. So just wanted to corroborate that. And then I also just wanted to, first of all, for the young folks that are in our audience from the Urban League, I want to piggyback on what Commissioner Knight was saying. We have, as a body, as a commission, we have 4 employees, and our city clerk is one of them. So when he's up here presenting, he's actually talking to his bosses, as is the city manager. So it's really great, Joel, to see a wonderful in-depth presentation, and always value your expertise here. I do have a question, because I want to be clear about the primary election. This is so that we can distinguish between contested races within a party. So tell them that column C is nonpartisan. That's where the city and the other things will be.
So in column C on this August ballot will either be First Ward City Commissioner, or no city commissioner, or it could be blank, or in the Grand Rapids Public Schools sinking fund millage. So that's in column C.
And so in theory, people should pick column A or column B plus column C.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to move us into closed session.